talk about my very first $10 house and how this whole thing happened. All right. I learned about something called lease options, which I've come to love like I've never loved anything else before in my life. All right. As of now, I've done about 72 lease option deals, but my very first one was my very first $10 house. And so I learned about lease options. I learned the definition. I learned about the possibilities of making $100,000 in 90 days without using money, credit, or a license. I just learned about it. It's just something I kind of happened upon. But instead of just learning about it and saying, "Oh, that's pretty cool," I said, "I gotta know everything about it. I gotta do that. I gotta be an expert at this lease option thing." So I signed up for some classes and I got some mentoring. I dropped $15,000 on my very first mentor to teach me how to buy houses with $10. Literally, it costs more money to learn a proper process to do this than it actually costs to buy houses. Who knew? So I put $15,000 on a credit card. I had to up my limit, probably had to get another credit card, but I was bound to determine that I was going to figure out lease options and how to buy houses for $10. So 2 weeks after I paid for my mentor and a week before I even talked to my mentor, I found myself in a seller's kitchen. And this seller it was a man and a woman, husband and wife, and they had bought their retirement house. They had lived in it for almost a year, and this house was where they were going to live until they died. They were going to retire here, okay? Then their daughter came home pregnant. Well, that threw a wrench in those plans, okay? Their easy retirement in their retirement house was suddenly home to their daughter, which they weren't expecting to move back home. And she had a bun in the oven. She had a little person about to also need to live in this house. And y'all, the house was fine. It was 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, I think, maybe 1.5 bath downstairs. No. It was 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. She had her own bathroom downstairs. But the house, they felt, just wasn't big enough for 4 people. It was big enough for the 2 of them to retire in. But she came home pregnant. So I met with them the first night that I called them. I found them on Zillow, of all places, listed for sale by owner. And I called them. They said, "We got to move quick." I said, "Great, because I can buy it quick." I had no idea what I was doing. And, I mean, this is a week before I even started with my mentor. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. But these people had a problem, and I wanted to help solve their problem. That's it. That's all I was going on. Pure adrenaline and wanting to help somebody. So I went and met with them. I sat with them in their kitchen table for like an hour and a half. I was there way too long, but I didn't know what I was doing. They didn't know what they were doing. We were just trying to figure out how we were going to make this happen. So by the time I left, they had agreed to sell me the house for what they owed on it. And they'd only been there for like a year, so they owed pretty much what it was worth. And they agreed to let me make the payments on it for the next 3 or 4 years until I could either cash it out, I could buy it, or I could find somebody to move into it who could cash it out themselves. And this was February 27th, so the end of February. They agreed, because they were still living in the house, they agreed to move out in the next 2 weeks. And if they moved out in the next 2 weeks, I would have 90 days before I had to make my first payment, okay? So they agreed to make March's payment, because they were still living there when March's payment was due. They agreed to make April's payment and May's payment. I was on the hook to make June's payment. All right. So great. Awesome. We signed a piece of paper that I had that I'd picked up at this boot camp that I'd been at. And I was excited. I was going to help these people. They were going to move out, and I was going to make their payments in 3 months and buy it for what they owed. I was making the payment for what they were paying the bank on, and that's all I had. So the next week when I had my first call with my mentor, I told them that I had a house under contract, and they were like, wait a second, you what? And I was like, yeah, I need to know how I'm going to make money on this. I need some help. So they helped walk me through how I was going to make money, what the paperwork needed to do, how I was going to find an attorney, how I was going to close it, when I was going to make the first payment, how I was going to set up the payments. Like, we went through a lot in that first call with my mentor. And the people moved out the next week. All right. So 2 weeks after I talked to them, they'd moved out of the house. They found a bigger house. They were renting a house. And the house was empty. I said, perfect. Awesome. So like they moved out on a Tuesday. On Thursday of that week, I had an open house. I'd advertised the property for 48 hours. And I had a couple from Chicago drive to Dandridge, Tennessee from Chicago. And they got there. They loved the house. All right. And I bought the house for $122. That's what they owed on it. And I was selling it for $145. Well, these people that moved down, that were coming down from Chicago, they said, hey, we're trying to sell our house in Chicago. And we saw the house was advertised on Zillow for $135 for a day, and then it disappeared, but now it's back for $145. What happened? I said, well, I bought it and now I want $145 for it. I got here before you did. And they were like, all right, well, we want it for $135. And I was like, fine, great, because I have it under contract for $122. So I'm thinking I'll make $13,000. That's fine. They said, yeah, but we're selling our house in Chicago. We don't think we're going to need 2 or 3 years to cash out this deal. We only need less than a year. Like, as soon as our house in Chicago sells, we will cash out this house. And I said, yeah, but, you know, sometimes it takes a while for houses to sell. It takes a while for deals to get done. Sometimes closings get delayed. I don't know what kind of situation you have in Chicago. So we'll just do this for a year. You can live in the house. You can rent it. You can love it. You can, you know, do whatever you need to for the house for the next year. And whenever your house in Chicago sells, then we'll just cash out and be done with it. And they were like, great, sounds fine. They gave me $3,000 the first day that they ever met me because they were going to be renting the house. They were wanting to move in like that day in March. So they were paying March, April, and May's rent. They were paying me rent before I had a payment due. They gave me $3,000 the first day they saw me, first day they met me. That was on a Thursday. They put their house up on the market. They had an open house in Chicago on, let's say, Sunday. Monday, these people call me and they're like, hey, we got a contract on our house in Chicago. We're going to sell it and we should close the middle of May. I was like, yeah, okay, sure. We'll see. But in the meantime, you've already paid me 3 months rent. You can move in, or we'll use that towards your non-refundable option fee in case you end up not buying the house in a year. And I'll have the attorney draw up some paperwork. Wait a second. If you're going to cash out by the middle of May, all we need is a purchase and sale contract with a rental agreement so that you can move in before closing. Awesome. My mentor helped me walk through that. They helped me get that paperwork set up. They helped me talk to my attorney. They helped me situate all that because there's a lot of weird stuff going on in this. There's a lot of moving parts. But y'all, sure enough, these people sold their house in Chicago. I have no idea how much money they made on it. I have no idea what it was worth, but it was a house in Chicago. It was probably worth a lot more than this house they were buying in Dandridge. And they closed on it on, let's say, a Thursday. And by Tuesday, we closed at my seller's office. Actually, we didn't even go to like a title company and close. The title company came to us in Dandridge at my seller's office. And we signed all the paperwork and they wired the money to the title company. I got a check that day for like $13,152 because those people in Chicago bought the house from me for $135. I had it under contract with my sellers for $122. So there's $13,000 difference. Plus, they'd been renting that house from me for 3 months before I had a payment due. So I made $16,000. I made over $15,000. I ended up paying some closing costs, but I made $13,000 in the difference between $122 and $135, what they paid for versus what I was originally giving my seller, and that $3,000 that they gave me. I made $15,000 in 8 weeks. I got all of my mentoring money back in 8 weeks. I put out $15,000 and I got $15,000 exactly back in 8 weeks, which meant I had my mentor for another 5 months paid for, free and clear. And for the next 5 months, I did as many deals as I could do. I ended up doing another like 7 deals in those 6 months. I made $100,000. I ended up by the next year, when I first heard about lease options, it was November of 2013. By November of 2014, I made $136,000 buying houses. Oh, I didn't even tell you about the $10, did I? That day in February, when I was talking to the sellers and I got that first contract, you have to have some money invested to be able to do these deals. And I told them $10 would do the trick. So I wrote them a check for $10 on February 27th, the very first day that I talked to these sellers. So I had $10 invested in this deal. $10 invested in this deal. I had $15,000 in my mentor, but I had $10 invested in this real estate deal, and I was able to sell that deal. I didn't sell the house. I sold the deal for $15,000 in 8 weeks. I know when I invest big, I make big money. When I invest a little bit, I make a little bit. I believe in mentors. That's why I mentor other women now. I know when they invest money in themselves, because it's not that they're paying me. They're investing money in themselves. They're coughing up. They're putting their skin in the game so that they can hustle to make it back 10 times or more. Over the next year, from the very first time I paid my mentor $15,000, in a year, I made at least $150,000. At least. I made $136,000 in the first 9 months, and then I didn't do anything for 3 months. Hello. Some of you aren't making $106,000 a month or a year now, and you're not investing. So you don't have anything to win. You don't have anything to gain. You got to invest. You got to play big games if you want to make big money. So I had $10 invested in that deal. Literally, I had $10 I gave them that night before I even talked to my mentor so that I could get these real estate deals done. I could get these lease option deals done. And even better than my $15,000 in 8 weeks, because now we have a little bit of a competition to see who's going to make more money and who's going to do it quicker. One of the girls in my mastermind right now, because I do mentoring, I've got a self-study mentoring called First Deal Done Fast. I've got group coaching called FDDF Plus. It's 8 weeks just to get you in, get you going, rock and roll. And then I've got a mastermind, which is 7 months of mentoring one-on-one with me. Every week we do some group and some one-on-one mentoring every week. And one of the girls in my mastermind who joined this week, she paid up to join to say she wanted to get these deals done. She wanted to make this money, honey. She's made $18,000 this week on one lease option house. This woman has made $40,000 this month doing lease options with $10 invested in the deal. And you can do it too. I've got 3 spots available in the mastermind, and tomorrow is the last day to sign up for the mastermind. And yes, it costs money. Some of y'all think I'm going to do this stuff for free. I'm not doing it for free. And I would do it for free, except I know when I give stuff out for free, y'all don't listen. Y'all don't do anything with it. You just say, whatever, it was free. We'll throw it away. It's no big deal. But when you invest money, you work your tail off to 10x that money. You work your tail off to get those shut up checks. When you invest big, you play big. And that's why I charge. I would do it for free. But y'all don't listen when I do it for free. So I charge. And then you hustle. This lady invested $5,000 in Mastermind this week. She's already almost 10x'd her deposit in less than 30 days. All right. This woman's made $40,000 in like 3 weeks. And I'm not making any guarantees, but I'm telling you what, this lady, all the ladies in the Mastermind, but especially this lady, she is pumped up and she is charged up and she is almost halfway to $100,000 in 90 days. Woo! Yes! If you want to get in the Mastermind, I've got 3 seats available. Tomorrow is the last day to sign up. Tomorrow's the last day to sign up for the Mastermind for this round, because tomorrow only leaves you like 90 days on the calendar for this year to actually make $100,000. And it's totally possible. And somebody said, well, how are we supposed to make this $100,000 in 90 days? What are we going to do? We're going to do real estate deals. We're going to maybe wholesale. We're going to wholetail. We're going to do some assignments. We're going to do some lease options. We may buy an apartment complex. We may gather some private money to buy other apartment complexes and get a finder's fee. Y'all, we're going to do real estate deals left and right. We may do a $50,000 deal and then 2 $25,000 deals. We may do one $100,000 deal. Next week, the Mastermind girls and I are going to Albuquerque, New Mexico to learn how to make money on vacation rentals. Make $100,000 a month on vacation rentals. We're going to do real estate deals. We may flip a house. We may flip an apartment complex. We may, hell, some of them are agents. They may list a house and make $100,000. I talked to Jennifer Hillegas yesterday. She came over to my house right here on this porch. Told me she made $30,000 in 24 hours by putting some bandit signs up around a neighborhood. Bam! If you can make $30,000 in 24 hours, you sure as blankety blank can make $100,000 in 90 days. In fact, that might not even be enough of a challenge. Maybe we should try to make $100,000 in 30 days. Boof! That just blew some of your minds, but it's totally possible. It is totally possible. And the women in the Mastermind are going to get it done. Tomorrow's the last day to sign up, though. So you better get your stuff in gear, get your money where your mouth is, and get started. You can send me a message if you want the link. You can send me a message. We got a couple calls available tomorrow if you want to talk to one of the girls on the Whitney Buys Houses team to make sure that it's a good fit. That's fine. But if you know you're ready to get in and you don't want to lose your chance at claiming one of these 3 seats, you need to ask for the payment link and you need to get to work, girls. You better work it. I've been listening to a lot of Missy Elliott lately. All right? Y'all send me a message. Let's get started. There's 3 seats available if you want to be mentored by me and make $100,000 in the next 90 days. You got to be in the Mastermind. All right, y'all? That's how you can buy houses for $10. And that's how you can get some mentoring. These deals are totally possible. Bye, y'all.